These are your Overland Trail notes. The topic is horizontal and vertical lines. Let's start with horizontal lines. Horizontal lines, no matter what the x is, the y is always the same number. There's no x in your equation. It is simply y equals the number that you're working with. And horizontal lines have a slope of 0. So I have an example here. We want to graph the line y equals 2. So the first step is to put a dot on the y-axis at 2. When this says y equals 2, we need to have a horizontal line going through the y-axis. So the line is going in the opposite direction of the y-axis. So make sure that you have a horizontal line when you have y equals a number. I have a mnemonic device that you could use to remember that horizontal lines should have a equation of y equals and that their slope is 0. And it is HOY. HOY. So if you could remember HOY, you can remember that horizontal lines have a 0 slope with the O, and the equation is y equals. Now y is the slope 0. Let's look at that. If you remember from the equations that we've been graphing and analyzing slope, we know that we can calculate slope by rise over run. So the rise on a horizontal line is 0. So we have all these perfect points. There's never a rise between them. But the run could be any number in the world. We could run left and right forever. And so if we look at that mathematically, rise divided by run, our rise is 0, our run is any number. And 0 divided by any number is 0. And that is why the slope is 0. Let's look at vertical lines. No matter what the y is, the x is always the same number. There is no y in the equation. It's just x equals the number you're working with. And vertical lines have an undefined slope. Let's talk about that after we look at our example. So with our example, we want to graph the equation x equals -3. So you're going to take and put a dot on the x-axis at -3. That's where our graph needs to cross through. And we are working with vertical lines here. And so you're going to draw a vertical line through the x-axis at -3. Now, why is the slope undefined? Remember when we were looking at slope, we pick perfect points on the graph. We could have a rise of literally any number. These points go on infinitely. So because the rise is any number and the run is 0, there's no run between these points. Looking at this mathematically, the rise divided by the rise is any number, the run is always 0, and any number divided by 0 is not possible, or in mathematics we call that undefined. And so vertical lines have an undefined slope. And just like with horizontal lines, I told you that we have a mnemonic device of HOI. The mnemonic device for vertical lines is BUX. B-U-X. And so that stands for vertical lines, undefined slope, x equals for the equation. That concludes horizontal and vertical line notes.